So you're driving down the long and dusty Great Eastern Highway, heading towards Kalgoorlie late at night, and out of nowhere, you see what can only be described as a light in the sky. You don't think much of it and just try to keep driving, trying desperately to stay awake. But you realise that the orb isn't going away. It's following you. In a panic, you put your foot to the floor and try to outrun it, faster and faster, but the orb isn't getting any further away. In fact, it's getting closer to you, moving alongside you, almost taunting you. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. Maybe you've heard stories like this one, maybe you've seen something like this yourself. Mostly well known as ghost lights, there are stories all over the world of mysterious orbs of light with no apparent explanation. You've got the will-o'-wisps in England, the Mako lights in North Carolina, and even the Naga fireballs in Thailand. But today we're talking about one phenomena in particular, the Min Min lights of Australia.
Chef, no, Chef, I'm really scared.
Dad, no, we have to keep driving.
Oh my God.
We're not stopping. And it's gone again.
It's gone again. Chef, I'm really freaked out. It's gone again.
Dad, we're really scared.
It keeps chasing us.
Stories of the Min Min lights first came to light in the collective Australian folklore in 1918 with the infamous story of a lone stockman. The legend states that a stockman was riding along the old Kennedy developmental road between Winton and Boulia. As he passed by the remains of the old Min Min Hotel, he saw something over the on-site cemetery. As a little side note, this is the orb's namesake, just a shitty little watering hole in the middle of the outback that was known as one of the shadiest places of its time. Floating before him, hovering over the cemetery, was an orb of light, glowing ominously. The stockman, gripped with fear, dug his heels into his horse and rode as fast as he could. But the orb followed, matching his pace right up until the stockman reached the outskirts of town. The stockman initially told this story to the police, and he was mocked relentlessly. That is, until the residents of Boulia saw what the stockman had seen for themselves.
Have you seen the light? Discover Boulia. The Tourism and Information Centre is home to a 45-minute laser and animatronic show showcasing the legend of the mysterious Min Min light. Visit the Tourist Information Centre and discover the magic and history of Boulia.
Now this story is well over 100 years old, but according to many different Indigenous Australian communities, stories may go back millennia, with sightings only increasing since European settlements arrived. Different communities have their own stories, some of which are told as ghost stories. Stories told by the Anindiliaqua tell of a ghost that haunts the land in the shape of a glowing orb, known only as Mamukwa. The stories told of the Mamukwa in particular share a lot of similarities with the common Min Min light experience. This phenomena has reports coming in from all over Australia, with one Balangara ranger over in Kimberley recounting that everyone from his childhood grew up hearing of the lights, and that they're believed to be the spirits of their elders. Now that we've got some of the history out of the way, what do we know about the Min Min lights? One thing that sets the Min Min lights apart from other stories of the glowing lights is that it follows you. It doesn't seem to matter what mode of transport either. If you're running, if you're driving a ute, whatever, it will follow you. But it also appears to have some kind of curiosity, moving closer to people before running away, almost as if it's taking a little look at you. But speaking of running away, according to a few stories, it seems that loud noises such as starting a car can deter the lights and even scare them off. We know that the lights have been reported all over Australia, but they seem to occur around Boulia and Queensland as a whole more frequently. Reports also seem to occur more frequently around bodies of water or where water once was. Now this is kind of interesting because if you know your history, you'll know that Australia was once home to massive inland seas during the early Cretaceous periods, and the sightings seem to overlap with where this sea once was. But the question remains, what could the Min Min lights be? Now, a lot of people have their own explanation, but the leading theory, and the one that most people seem to believe, is that it's some sort of mirage, a Fata Morgana if you like. Fata Morgana are complex forms of superior mirages visible in a narrow band right above the horizon. They significantly distort the object that they're based on, often leaving it completely unrecognizable. One of the minds behind this leading theory is Professor Jack Pettigrew of University of Queensland. Being the director of UQ's Vision, Touch and Hearing Research Centre, Pettigrew was able to research and test this hypothesis in the early 90s. He states that the Min Min lights occurs when light from a natural or man-made source is refracted to an observer who is tens or even hundreds of kilometers away by an inverted mirage. He explains the science behind it, saying, "A cold, dense layer of air next to the ground carries light far over the horizon to a distant server without the usual dissipation and radiation, to produce a vivid mirage that baffles and enchants because of its unfamiliar optical properties." To prove his theory, he took a team into the outback and set up a base camp. He then drove his car about 10 kilometers north where it wasn't viewable, and then turned on his headlights. According to him and his team, what they saw that night was almost identical to the claimed characteristics of the Min Min lights. A more mystical explanation could be that the orb of lights are simply ghosts. In the initial reports in 1918, the Stockman claimed that the orb first appeared hovering right above the Min Min's hotel cemetery. This, combined with the indigenous beliefs that the lights are the ghosts of their ancestors or guardian spirits, lays the groundwork for the lights just to be ghosties. This kind of coincides with other spiritual beliefs seen elsewhere in the world in regards to other ghost lights, but it also reminds me of the common belief that ghosts can sometimes appear in photos as orbs. Another scientific theory is that they're caused by the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphane, and methane. All of these compounds are produced by organic decay and can cause light emissions. The theory states that only small quantities would be needed to ignite the methane in order to create the orbs of light. Since the first two compounds, phosphine and diphosphane, spontaneously ignite with oxygen. Now, this is a process that's pretty similar to swamp gas, which is usually figured to be the source of other ghost lights. Now, the final theory that I'm going to touch on today is what the Australian government doesn't want us to know. What they're really hiding out in Pine Gap. Aliens. Now, this is definitely the most logical explanation with the most plausibility. Tiny green men are out there in little ships that light up, and they just like to fuck with people. That's it. That's the theory. But in all seriousness, if you have any stories of the Min Min lights and you'd like to share them, I'd love to read them down in the comments below. But that's pretty much it. I'll catch you later. Have a good one.